Joining us right now to talk about these and other big economic issues that we're facing, Douglas Holtz-Eakin, who is president of the American Action Forum and a former director of the Congressional Budget Office, and David Wessel, a senior fellow in economic studies at the Brookings Institution. All right, Doug, let's start with you. Just in terms of what we can anticipate, what are going to be the most trying issues? Maybe first thing we have to deal with is what happens to the debt ceiling this year and how quickly you think that can get resolved.
Well, I think there are three big ones that are just sitting out there and we know we have to get past. One's the debt ceiling. The second is funding the government for 2025. Still haven't done that. And the third will be what happens to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which sunsets at the end of the year. So those are three very big legislative lifts. I think first in line will probably be the funding of the government. They can push the debt ceiling off until late spring, probably early summer, and they will. And they probably won't get the tax bill done very quickly. I think the early indicator is the speaker election on Friday. Can they manage that process in a way that quickly elects a speaker, or is it going to be a protracted issue? There's nothing about their attempts to do a continuing resolution in December that leads me to think that this White House, House, and Senate team is really up yet to the management of these three big issues. They have to figure out how to run the trains.
And you're saying that based on what we've already seen, I guess, just some of the unruly House Republicans as we were heading at the end of last year?
At the end of last year, you had a plan, and the plan was to sort of have this big omnibus bill, which I didn't like, and a lot of people didn't like, but that was the plan. Everyone had signed off on it. And then the incoming administration undercut it publicly and undercut the speaker publicly. And, chaos ensued. Now the president has supposedly endorsed Mike Johnson to return as speaker. I don't know what that endorsement means, given that he undercut him 3 weeks before that. So I want to see if this group can manage the process of getting these three big issues done, because they have to happen.
David, Doug's right to point out those three big issues, but you can lay on top of that issues like immigration, tariffs, and many others that are out there. So how are you kind of viewing this? What are you watching for?
Well, I think the first moves are not going to come from Congress. They're going to come from the White House. And the big questions I have are, what does President-elect Trump do on tariffs? What does he do on immigration? And then after that, what will they do about taxes? But as Doug points out, the tax debate will go on all year. My concern is that they'll do things that hurt the economy first, like tariffs and reducing immigration or throwing a lot of people out of the country or whatever, and that will hurt the economy before the effect of any tax cuts can show up in 2026. I also worry about the possibility, Doug referred to the uncertainty in the House. We seem to be in a period where we can expect a lot of twists and turns, and I don't think chaos and turmoil are good for business. So I'm worried that things will be unsettled for a while till we figure out what are Trump's bluffs and what does he really mean to do.
Well, Doug, that's a good point. The idea that the administration may have to go over the things that go after the things that they can actually do themselves through presidential actions without having Congress sign off on some of those things. And some of those might not be as beneficial. It may actually hurt the economy.
I think David makes a really good point. And I would say more broadly that, the economy's in good shape. We're growing probably north of 3%. You saw claims continue to be low, labor market solid. So at this point, the economic risks are to the downside. We're more likely to slow than grow faster, and all of the policy risks are to the downside. The Fed may have underestimated the durability of inflation. Tariffs are bad news. The immigration policies are bad news. So, there's a real chance that you have a rocky start to 2025. And I just want to point out, I think the notion that these tax cuts are going to do much for growth is a bit misplaced. All they're doing is extending current policy. That's not going to change anything. The question is, what do they do on top of that? And do they have the discipline to do a real pro-growth tax reform? It remains to be seen.